with a little bit of sage, which I picked a few weeks ago. And since it's been a rainy, cold winter in the desert, the sage is actually very beautiful. And we always pick the sage with respect. The sage grows where the mountain meets the desert floor. And so there's many places when you're leaving the Coachella Valley that there's sage that grows. And how I do it with respect is I always say, I thank the four wind directions, Eurus, Notus, Zephyrus, and Boreas. And then I always bring a bottle of water and I give some water to the sage. I always give a drink. That's how I do it. And then I ask for permission from each plant. May I have some from you? And it never fails that they always like shout in all their directions, yes, come here, because I think when they get trimmed, they like that. So we smudged off, and then I have this very special candle that I'm lighting for Raven, and I bought these beautiful flowers yesterday for today's occasion, and we were going to be outside, but then I was carrying some stuff through the garage that I had been cleaning out all day, although clearly I went out and forgot to finish cleaning out, and I tripped over. There's with these glasses, you can see far and you can see close, but there's some blind spots, especially when it's a little bit shady. So I tripped over a box, fell over another box, and I really skinned my knee. No, I didn't skin my knee. I skinned my shin all the way from my knee down to my ankle, and sat in bed with my leg propped up for the rest of the day, but so be it. We're here today. We're not outside. We're being a little gentle because I had a big conference a week ago at UCLA. Over 400 behavioral health and wellness people came, and it was such a success. But it usually takes me, and as I get a little older, I don't know if any of you have noticed, it takes us a little longer to get engaged, re-engaged with life. Like, I haven't been back writing on my book this week, and there's just things that it takes me a little bit longer to bounce back. That said, today I'm bouncing a little slow with this bruise from my knee to my ankle, and here we are to call in the wind spirit and to send the one home. You don't know me, I'm Renee Barable, the Practical Shaman, and I'm working on my new book, which is going to be The Practical Shaman, and it's going to have tools and tips beyond the wind. The wind is something that I just adore and love, and I'm going to introduce some of the other tools that I use with the wind to integrate how you can work with all of the elements in your life. But I was working with Carrie in April. Now, if you want to find out which wind you're working with, you can either quickly open to the back of a page in the section 4 of the Winds of Spirit, or if you're listening to the audio version, you can skip ahead to any chapter in section 4 and find out a wind. Or if you're in the Wind Clan, there's a wind spinner featured at the top. It's a featured post, and you spin it. Always people, we're a society that likes to know what that means. What does that mean? How does that mean? Which is great, but that's just the opposite of direct revelation. Some days I want to just take the what it means off there, but that's what gets most people attracted. But you spin to the wind. And this month, I happen to call all of my winds out earlier in the year. This month, I'm working with Mari. And I know Mari is the wind of the Pyrenees who goes through all the mountains. And she was well known for her, if you're lost 3 times, call to Mari. Mari, Mari, Mari. So if you're feeling lost, you can call to Mari. But if you go to the wind spinner and select one wind, don't test it to see if you get the same wind 3 times, although that happens a lot. You pick one wind. And yes, you can read the quality. What you really want to do is close your eyes. And we're going to do this in this journey today, is we're going to call to that wind spirit. We're going to actually call to the wind spirit that you're working with this month and and invite that wind in to help you. So for me, I'm transitioning back from the desert back to Washington in this coming month. And that's a big transition. I've been in the desert for the winter. I thought I was selling my house, fell through. And as a result, I fell back in love with my house. And I'm there like, okay, I did this for a reason. And we don't always know what the reason is. And sometimes we just almost have to sign on the dotted line to sell something before we say, no, I need to do a turnabout phase. But that's what is revealed when you live your life on life's terms. It reveals to you what you need to know. Well, this week we had a little surprise. So our windy friend Raven Keys suddenly passed away. And if you're in your 60s, as I am, it really brings it home that our days are borrowed. Our days are numbered. I mean, if you read her post for the last month, go to her page, you see she's planning like a movie launch and a rebook branding and an audio launch and a course in Glastonbury this June. All of these things that are full of life that hopefully her legacy will be able to carry on, because she created a wonderful work of art called Medical Reiki. And it's a book where she outlines how you can actually take Reiki into the hospital. And hopefully she has a strong organization and there's people ready to carry that work forward, because she really made some impacts and really believed wholeheartedly in this work. I met her when she came like a burst of wind into the Wind Clan, okay? The 2-year apprenticeship program had already started, and I got an email from her saying that she really wanted to be in there. And of course I looked and saw that she had a book, and like me, it was a trend-setting book. It wasn't just another book, because there's a lot of just another books out there, but it was a book that was bringing new information into the world, new ideas into the world. And if you've been in this, if you're an author who's brought it, and I think all authors believe they bring in new information, or why would they write the book? But there's some books that bring in, like The Wind. When I moved the rock from the wind cave and the wind came in, that hadn't been written. When she wrote Medical Reiki and moved that rock from that cave, it hadn't been written. These are like new books, new ideas brought into the mainstream. So I connected with her immediately on that, because I know when you're a forerunner, when you're ahead of your time, all of those things take an extra work of perseverance and persistence that not everyone can do. I think Sandra Ingerman talks about it when she was writing Soul Retrieval, and she said, I can't do this. And Isis, her guide, said to her, well, then move over, somebody else will. And so if you didn't move over and you're standing in that space where you're the person selected and you raise your hand and you say, I do, then you do. And that's what I really applauded in her. That was one of the things, was that it was her single focus. And sometimes we'd laugh because, we'd want her to bring the wind into that single focus. And she was wind inspired, but the wind inspired her on her single focus. And I just chuckled and watched, and glad to have known her that way. The other thing Raven taught me was how to be really nice to people. I tend to bring down the hammer. I see the situation. I guess my gift is I see into the darkness, because I had so much of it in myself to clear, that I want to help everyone to that light. But she did it with a lot of love, whereas I do it with calling people out on their shit and, telling me when you hear the pop of your own head coming out your ass, let me know. But her approach was, she always was like stunned and shocked at my approach. And it was that first year in the wind apprenticeship that I had to really learn to really step back and let people process in their own time and be who they were. it made it a little more dull for me as we went forward when I couldn't really tell people what I saw or what I wanted to say out loud. And I ended up stuffing a lot of feelings for myself because there was a time where it went from just blurting it out to just holding it all in to hopefully as I'm writing the next book, I'm learning how to meld those two so that I can deliver the message in a way people want to hear it in a way that's going to be more fruitful for their change. And I want to thank you, Raven, for that as well. Somewhere in the middle is the way that I hope to deliver the message. But I'm sad. We were supposed to meet in New York last month, and you just kind of take time for granted, thinking like, okay, I'm going to meet Treely in Central Park next time I go to New York, and which was going to be in December. And I don't have that time. That time just got swished with the wind. And I know for me, I know for many of the people in the Wind Clan, I know for all of her students, it was a shock and a surprise. And Wizard, our heart is with you. John, our heart goes out to you. And all of the people who loved her were with you. We're with you in prayer. We're with you in ceremony. And if there's anything you need us to do, if, there's a fund or something to keep her work alive, just let us know. And with tears in my eyes and in my heart of sorrow, I'm gonna send last month's wind home. Okay? And I read something by David White this morning. The death of anyone close to us is always a form of salutation, a simultaneous goodbye to their physical presence and a deep hello to more intimate, imaginal relationship now beginning to form in their absence. And anyone who's lost people understands this, that when people die, they don't leave us. The relationship transforms. I found that my father died when I was 33, and I learned very early in my life that my relationship with him didn't end. My relationship with him changed. In fact, my relationship with him got better. So anyone struggling to find that place of solace, that place of hope, just remember that relationships don't go, they change form. And with that, let's send home your wind from April with 3 mighty wind breaths. Breathe in. And Raven, may you fly free with the wind. Any pain, any suffering, any residuals from all your work at 9/11, and any of the frustrations and all of the joy, can you take all of that with you as you fly? And I call to our circle of Windies, all of you who might join yet, join over at the Wind Clan. Please, let's get strong and let's hold each other up, because Raven left, but I know I can count on this hand and probably this hand too. All of our other people who are lost and suffering, cancers are running rampant right now through people, and there's a lot of our Windies who are holding on for dear life here. So let's remember we have to hold each other up in the wind. So as we release this next one, let's send this wind around to anyone who might need our strength. And take a moment of silence for anyone you know who's lost or suffering. and see their spirits flying free and joyfully in the wind. This should probably be a two-part. I should probably end it there and begin here, and I probably will have that break on YouTube. But now we're going to call to our May winds. One thing I learned early in my life, my father died, and I went home to my restaurant way too early, and I was in shock, but I didn't even know it at the time, because it wasn't until I entered a Friday night restaurant full of people, that I realized that I was in shock and really not in my body still. And then the very next day I met with this Jewish man and his daughter. They were planning a wedding, and he told me about the Jewish tradition. Although I didn't belong in the restaurant that day, and I probably shouldn't have been there, but he was telling me that, in the Jewish tradition, the reason that they break bread is because they eat because life goes on. And so with our losses, life goes on, and I think I'll take a drink of my green juice. And we're going to call to your May wind. So go over to the wind spinner in the wind clan if you don't have one, and pick a wind. And if you're not that so inclined, I'm going to pick a wind for you, because my personal wind is Mari, and I call to her, and that's who I'm going to work with. But as a group, we can work with Yapancha, the Hopi wind of moderation, about adjusting and compensating. And what I thought we would do today is we're just going to take a short journey. We're going to take a journey to your wind spirit, because I figured if we journey, maybe you'll get the idea of that this is direct revelation. So it's going to be a short journey. You're just going to close your eyes, and you're going to call to the wind. And if you don't have one, call to Yapancha. And if you have a wind, call to that wind and ask, what do I need to know right now? How do I bring you forth into my life for this month? How do I work with you? Hopefully this works. Imagine yourself in your favorite place in nature. Shoes on, take them off in your mind's eye. We want you to feel the grass or the sand or the water underneath your feet. And look around, and what do you see in this day? Spirit that you're working with. I'll call to the group wind of Yapancha. Come to us. Reveal itself. Reveal yourself. Come as a steady breeze, a torrential rain, body of water in front of you. Notice what's going on. Are there ripples of waves moving across? you have for me today? And thank that wind for coming. And thank that wind for being your guide this month. And ask this wind to help guide you, to help direct you, to give you messages in ways that you can understand them. Then we're going to come back into the room. And then connect with that wind with your wind whistle or your hand. And if you're new, trust. Trust in the wind. Trust in the wind. Find us over at the Wind Clan. You can find more about me at the Practical Shaman. If you want to take some wind work classes, there's some evergreen classes at windwork.org. And I'm working on some projects for the fall where I'll start to teach again. I'm still writing a book this year, so that's where my main focus is, because I have a full-time behavioral health care job, which is very full-time, and part of my work has been accepting that as well. And I want to thank all of the Windies who are here, who are going to listen to this sometime, and send you all blessings from my heart to your heart, and know that we are one. And if you haven't read my book, go over and grab one at your favorite bookstore. Winds of Spirit, and it's now available on audio, read by Nathan Agin, and he did a beautiful job to bring in the masculine and the feminine to this. And I want to thank you all for being here, and make sure you join us over at the Wind Clan and follow me over at YouTube at the Practical Shaman. Okay, thank you.